Hi guys, so I'm going to explain for you guys how to do, this is 1.08 practice, and this is question number 2. And I already typed out my GUI for you guys just to save time. So anyway, it says Chris averages 8.00 meters per second for a 100.0 meter dash. So that's where V average and change in X total come in. He then paces himself for the first 50 meters, 50.0 meters, so that's change in X1, then runs 12.00 meters per second until the end of the race. So V2 is 12.00 meters per second, and it says until the end of the race. Well, we already know that X total is 100, and the first part was 50. So the second part is going to be 100 minus 50, which is 50. So change in X2 is 50 meters per second. What was his speed for the first 50 meters? So speed is V, and the first 50 meters, that's the first part of the segment. So V1 equals question mark. The two things that I need, the two equations, I'm going to use V average is change in X total over change in T total. Change in T equals change in X over V. Eventually, I'll use also V equals change in X over change in T. So here's what we can do. So I'm going to do the math. The first thing I'm going to do is find out what change in X total is. I should have thought this through, but that's okay. So I'm going to do I'm going to find change in T total because I have V average and I have X total. So change in T total is going to be equal to, and I already know that change in T equals change in X over V. So this is going to be 100 divided by 8. And when I go to my calculator, I should have brought that up too. So I'm going to do 100 divided by 8. I'm going to get 12.5, which works because when you look at I should have written 100.0 divided by 8.00. 8.00, this one has 3 sig figs, this other one has 4. So I'm going to write my answer in 3 sig figs, which is 12.5 seconds. So that I found first. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to find change in T. I'm going to find, I have enough information to find change in T2 because I have the speed and the distance for that. So change in T2 is equal to distance, of 50.0 divided by the time or the speed of 12.00. So again, we've got 3 sig figs and 4 sig figs. So my answer is going to be in 3. I'm going to pull up my calculator and do 50 divided by 12, and that gives me 4.16 repeating. So that's 4.1 this, right? And when I round that to 3 sig figs, right, 4.16, those are the first 3 sig figs. I look at the next digit, which is 6, so I round this up to 4.17. Okay, so we know change in T2. We should also know that change in T1 is going to be equal to 12.5 seconds minus 4.17 seconds. So here's the deal. When you guys figure out this time, you should, so the sig fig deal is really what I'm talking about. When we add or subtract, we look to which one has the fewest amount of decimal places, not what has the fewest amount of sig figs. So when I do 12.5 minus 4.17, this has 1 decimal place and this has 2. So I'm going to round my answer to just 1 decimal place. So here we go, 12.5 minus 4.17. It gives me 8.33, which I round to just 1 decimal place, which is 8.3 seconds. So that's change in T1. So the last thing I have to do to get speed is I have to divide distance by time. So V1 is going to be distance, which is 50.0 meters, divided by the 8.3 seconds. So now we have 3 sig figs here at 50.0, 2 sig figs here, 8.3, and we're going to round to 2 sig figs. So I'm going to do it again, 50 divided by 8.3, that gives me 6.02, 6.024, blah, 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 meters per second. So when I round that to 2 sig figs, here are my first 2, 6.0, and I look to the next one, which is 2, that rounds down, so I just get 6.0 meters per second. The last thing I'm going to do, my E, evaluate. You guys are struggling with this. I have to say, what I can say is, for this one in particular, I would probably say his average speed is 8.00 meters per second. The speed of the second 50.0 meters is 12.00 meters per second, which is higher than the speed than the average speed. So I would say his speed during the first 50 meters should be slower than the 8.00 meters per second. That's because in order to get an average speed, if you have a speed that's higher, you also need a speed that's lower than the average to make the average. So a speed of 6.000 meters per second makes sense because it's slower than 8.00 meters per second. Okay, I can say that. It also makes sense because we spend more time at our first speed, 8.3 seconds, than we do at our second speed, 4.17. It makes more sense that our average speed should be closer to our speed, our V1, than our V2 because we spend more time at V1 than we do at V2. And that makes sense because 8 is a lot closer to 6 than it is to 12. So those of you guys that answered 4.0 and just did 4 plus 12 divided by 2. First of all, not the way to do it. Second of all, we don't spend equal time, so it wouldn't make sense. All right, I am done with this. Nope, that's not how you do it. I never know how to turn this off. Pause. Nope. Okay, we're just going to turn it off. Okay, bye.